WDKN Dickson, Tennessee, serving Dickson County.
Turn it up.
Streaming online at WDKN.com.
I love listening to it over and over. I love it.
This is 101.5 The One at WDKN Dixon's Country Music Home.
Where can you get information on the latest news and events in Dickson County? Right here on Know Your County on WDKN 1260 AM and 101.5 The One FM. Know Your County keeps you informed about events that matter to you. Now, here is your host for today's Know Your County.
Good morning. Today is Saturday, February the 5th, 2022, and you are listening to Know Your County here on WDKN AM 1260 and 101.5 FM. We are also streaming at WDKN.com. I'm your host, Justin Spurlock, and we have a great show for you today. I've got Michael Shepard in the studio with me this morning. Michael, thank you so much for coming in and talking with me today.
Thanks for having me, Justin. I really appreciate you inviting me in, and I look forward to talking to you.
So let's have a conversation this morning. I want to start off by letting the people know a little bit about you, a little bit about your background. Now, I want to talk to you about some of the events that are going on in downtown. You seem to be a guy who's, always around whenever the big events are going on, and you're usually helping to plan those and to do some of that stuff. So I'd like to talk to you about that. But before we get into that, for those who might not know who Mr. Michael Shepard is, can you give us just a little background information on yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like Justin said, my name is Michael Shepard. I have been in Dickson since 2013. Grew up in Bellevue. Most of my family lived in Dickson. For those that know the Shepard last name, more than likely I'm related to them in one shape, form, or fashion. My Uncle David was a state rep for a while, and the Shepard Apothecary area over there, and then just all the other Shepards running around. That's more than likely my family. But so I was more or less a holiday Dixonian for a while, just Easter, Christmas, holidays like that. Thanksgiving would come up here and hang out with the family, and I've always loved Dickson, but grew up in Bellevue. And when I graduated from UT Knoxville in 2012, I worked some odd and end jobs for about a year after that, and then got a phone call and was asked to be a commercial lines manager for Dickson Insurance. And so I readily accepted that and moved out to White Bluff. Lived there for a year, and then met my wife, and she convinced me to live out here full time. And so since then we've had some kids, and we've settled our roots in the city limits of Dickson, and we're not looking back. I know that much.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this morning and giving us a little information about you. I run into you a lot when I'm downtown in the downtown area doing some of the fun events that are happening. I tend to run into you a lot, and one of those things where I see you a lot is at the trivia. Yeah, that takes place over at Furnace Brewing, and you host that. You also have a couple other things that you do as far as some hosting duties, as far as some different events in the downtown area, and that's all through a company that you started called Your Vibes Entertainment. Tell us a little bit about that, because I enjoy going to the events. If you don't mind telling some people about the different events that you do, and maybe kind of how that got started first off.
Sure. So I've been on the side, a wedding or mobile DJ since I was 15. It kind of started with a birthday party and grew from there. So I've always had kind of and been comfortable behind a mic, I'll say that. And so after being here for several years, I started joining some boards and getting really involved in the community. And of course, with that comes networking things and parties and things like that as well. And then about 2019, the brewery opened downtown, and they were kind of bootstrapping the whole thing. And I knew Chris Gadd, the owner, pretty well, the previous owner, and in order to kind of get him rolling, he was looking to find a way to drive traffic. So I just came up with a trivia night, and we hit the ground running with it. I had some equipment that I used and made up my own questions, and about a month in, the place was packed at the doors. So I think we figured out that was a good thing, and it was definitely driving traffic to the brewery and bringing people in and putting money in his pocket. So I've been doing that last week. Now I have had somebody fill in for me, but last week I think was our 75th week of doing it. So it's been going really well. And then that kind of branched off into me doing trivia with the chamber. And then people started asking me if I could do karaoke. And so I started just winging that. I've been doing that for about 6 months now, and that's been going well. And then people reached out about doing bingo and several other things as well too. So I've got the equipment, and whether it's a blessing or a curse, I've got a gift of gab. And people's number one fear over death a lot of times is public speaking. So I kind of feel a little bit, I guess, honored that I don't really fear that very much, and it's worked out well. I really do it, honestly, not for the money whatsoever, because it's not too terribly much, but it's to help those people reach their goals as far as where they want to go, and putting butts in the seats in any sort of business environment is going to be profitable for them, and any way I can help do that is my goal with the whole thing.
So you started off as a DJ doing weddings and things like that, and then that kind of led into the whole trivia thing. And I think trivia is pretty popular. So let's take just a second before we move on from that and talk a little bit more about, so how do you come up with these questions every week? Because they're good. It's good trivia. There's been nights where you've had some questions about local Dickson, which I've always appreciated those the most, because everybody knows that I love, the local history, and so you've incorporated some of that stuff. But coming up with all those questions, that's always been interesting to me. How do you make that happen?
Right off the bat, it was just Google, and you would be surprised, or not surprised, one way or the other, that even the questions that are online that seem like they're in a legitimate trivial format, sometimes the answers are wrong or kind of controversial. So I learned that the hard way multiple times by having people call me out live and in action when I was doing it, and had to kind of crawfish out of some things. But a lot of it's Google. I've got about 3 or 4 websites that are pretty reliable. I do have people gift me trivia books or cards or trivial games, things like that. They're like, oh, I came across this at Marshall's or somewhere, and I thought you would like it. I get on Amazon and buy things. And then just watching TV or just living day-to-day life, I've got to keep note thing in my phone, and as something pops up, I'll just type it in there and trivia question, and add it in that week or however it may be. But it's 6 rounds, 6 questions in each round, so I've got to come up with about 36 relatable trivia questions every single week. Now I have recycled some, because whatever 75 times 36 is, I've got that many in my bank, so I do kind of pick and pull out of some, and I'm not having to, as of now, having that many in the hopper. I don't have to find as many now, but I've always kind of prided myself on not just pulling out 36 questions and throwing them in there. And you've really got to cater it to the crowd, because like I said, I've done it for the chamber. I've done trivia for several other little places, just kind of one-off things. And you can't ask them too hard. They can't be too easy. I do like doing the local ones as well too, because that kind of stirs people's brain up a little bit. And I've kind of found the niche at Furnace. I know how to work that one pretty well with the questions. And my kind of meter is if teams score over 100, if multiple teams score over 100 points, then the questions are pretty much right on par. So anything under that, if it's too far under 100 or too above 100, then they're either too hard or too easy. So I kind of just use that as a meter.
It's always a fun time to go and try to figure out what the answers are to these questions. And I always sit there and think, where did he come up with this question? We're talking this morning with Mr. Michael Shepard here on Know Your County on WDKN. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back to talk some more here on Know Your County.
Business internet is a must. Paying bills, sending emails, updating your website, running social media campaigns, even your phone and credit card machine need reliable internet. But your options are limited, and every provider has its drawbacks. That's why RFC Broadband for Business is here. A truly local business offering wireless high-speed internet options for your business. Affordable prices, no wires, no contracts, no data caps. RFC Broadband for Business, 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com. Simple billing, rural coverage, and again, no contracts or data caps. It's all designed with you in mind. See the difference a local company makes. RFC Broadband for Business, 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com. Currently not available in all areas. Call for availability.
In times of joy, in moments of grief, broadcasters come through, even when all else fails. Today, with more ways than ever to experience the moments that transform our lives, Americans still choose broadcast radio and television more than all other media combined. We are the local broadcasters of radio and television, reaching more people, touching more lives. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
And we're back here on Know Your County. I'm your host, Justin Spurlock, and I've got Michael Shepard in the studio with me. And before the break, he was telling us a little bit about his background of growing up in Bellevue and then moving to Dickson and really getting involved in Dickson and the downtown area and several of these local boards. And along the way, he created a company called Your Vibes Entertainment. And it's got several different branches, and one of those branches is where he does different events downtown. And that's what we were talking about right before the break. We talked about trivia just a little bit, and he was letting me know about how he comes up with all of these crazy questions. And so not just trivia, but you've also got bingo going on and maybe karaoke. Tell us a little bit about, so you're kind of branching out and doing new things now.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything that requires speakers and microphones, I can pretty much do it all. And one thing we did skip is the podcast too. Totally forgot to mention something about that. But so working at Dickson Insurance in sales, you obviously meet a lot of people, and then getting involved with the boards, meet a lot of people. So in my mind, there was a lot of people with cool stories, cool backgrounds, really neat dreams and goals that they were telling to me just in casual conversation. And I felt it was kind of a detriment that they weren't recorded and other people didn't know about them, and from either just an interest standpoint or from a helping standpoint, it's always good to kind of connect people to see if they can help each other out. So I've hit 50 episodes on the podcast, and that's been used as some really good promotion for the other things going on. But yeah, in regards to trivia, that kind of got to the point to where there needed to be some extra spice. So Furnace Brewing is kind of like my experiment. It's like my science lab almost when it comes to it, because there's a good following of people there that just love the brewery and want to support that in general. And then of course we've gained some followers with trivia, and there's a huge karaoke crowd out there. Yeah. House of Brews was doing really well, and they were staying packed. And I think Mazatlan now does karaoke on Thursdays, but Chris approached me and asked if I could do it. I was like, sure, why not? We'll see how it goes. And the first night we did it was slam packed. I mean, it was the doors. You couldn't even fit anybody else in there. I'm sure the fire marshal would not have been very happy, but it was probably one of the closest, one of their more successful nights, since they had been open. So, it kind of became obvious to us even after night one that needed to be a pretty regular thing. So we did that and have been rocking and rolling. And now since it's been bought by Morgan and her family, Morgan Kincaid and her family. We've met last week, and we're going to do regularly scheduled karaoke every other Saturday. So in between trivias. So, every other Saturday. And then in between that, on Fridays in March, this is kind of a, first announcement to the public. We're going to be doing Songo too, which is like bingo but with music. So I've got an algorithm on my on Excel to where I can input like 200 songs and then make a Songo board, and at random it'll just input those song titles in there, and then I'll just play those clips of the songs. And if you've got it on your Songo cord, you mark it, and you can just do like regular kind of bingo, straight vertical or horizontal or whatever it might be.
One of my favorite parts of trivia is where you play the songs and we have to guess
name
which
that
song
tune.
it is. I love that kind of stuff. Me
Yeah.
and my dad used to play a game like that where we would play certain songs for each other, and whoever could guess it the fastest and things like that. So I know that's fun.
Yeah,
and I appreciate
it's a blast.
you making that big announcement here on the show
Absolutely,
today.
yeah, you're more than welcome. Hopefully it'll get you some more listens. And then I was approached by Amanda Pumphrey at Pumphrey and Beard to do bingo every other Sunday. So I'm kind of a weekend warrior starting on Thursdays, and this is all after hours too. My main gig is Dickson Insurance. That's kind of where my allegiance lies at the moment, and I niche in hospitality, so it was kind of just natural for me to start an entertainment business. Nowadays, people cold calling and drop-ins and whatever COVID's got going on, people have just got so much going on that in my mind, if I could figure out another way to service people in something that put money in their pockets, instead of one of those I hope you never need it kind of insurance policies that I just take a premium every month. And, should something happen, it's obviously good for you to have the insurance. But, I felt the need to kind of give back before, we did business together. So having the entertainment business has really helped kind of just everything as a whole. And in meeting, kind of the clients I was going for in the first place.
So now for the people who are listening today and they're thinking to themselves, wow, I really like a lot of this stuff that he's got going on, trivia, bingo, karaoke, all these different things. How can I, if I want to go to one of these events, how can I look it up? Do you have a website, a page on Facebook? How can somebody look up and maybe figure out, okay, I'd like to, go out this week. Let's try to go to one of Michael's events. Where could they look up that information?
Sure. Yeah. I make events for everything I do on my Facebook page. So it's Your Vibes Entertainment on Facebook. I do have a website that has got trivia and bingo on there as far as my gigs go. Karaoke and Songo are going to be added on there, as well as some other things now that we've got it set in the books as far as a regularly occurring event. But I do make out events for everything I'm doing by the quarter. I need to update it for, I guess, until March or April this weekend. But everything I do, if you go to Your Vibes Entertainment and just go to the events page, it'll show everything I've got going on.
So let's kind of shift gears just a little bit. We've been talking about kind of your company, Your Vibes Entertainment, the different events that you put on, and how we can find out about those things. But it's sort of your talents, I guess you would say, in the hospitality industry, in the event planning sort of space, that you have found yourself involved with another group that's doing a lot of cool things downtown. The Downtown Dickson Association. And I was wondering if we could talk about that for maybe a few minutes, because we're kind of in that season where it's, cold outside and there's not, all that much going on, where, Christmas season has passed. So we've had, the Christmas events, but now we're kind of in a little bit of a lull, but I know you guys are in a planning stage right now for planning some events that are upcoming. So I'd like to talk about that. But before we kind of get into what events are coming up, could you tell us a little bit about the Downtown Dickson Association and kind of what they do and kind of what that is?
Sure. So I think I'm about a year into that association, and I joined really to help with the street festival last year. They needed an MC. That's kind of another aspect of the entertainment business too, for like nonprofits or festivals or concerts or things like that, for people that need somebody just to kind of run the show and kind of keep things on track and announce things. I do that as well too. So they need some help with that. So I jumped in and volunteered to kind of help announce the bands and the sponsors and keep kind of time as far as the bands go as an associate member. And so I eventually moved my entertainment business address downtown to make me eligible to be on the executive committee should that option ever be available. After the street festival last year, well, I'll kind of back up. The DDA really is about only 2 years in. Okay, so it was something pretty big for a while, and then kind of died out. All the turnover on Main Street. Nobody's. We had the Old Timers Day and the Veterans Parade and things like that, but it was kind of, and some things in Christmas, but it was just kind of hit or miss on who wanted to get involved with that and who was running it. And it was really like just individuals downtown with no relationship to any association that were running it. So Esther Wood at Xander stepped up and became, started it back up as president. And she, over the 2 years, has formed a nice executive council. And now we have 80 total members in the association. So the DDA is a nonprofit organization. Nobody involved, not even the executive committee, gets any money whatsoever on anything. It's all volunteer from the graciousness of those people's hearts. There's no ego about it. It's 100% dedicated to, the title's Downtown Dickson Association, but we do have associate members, as I had mentioned, which can be anybody else that wants to get involved. They can't vote and they can't be eligible for an elected position, but they can have a say. They can come in and talk about it.
Before we go any further, so the Downtown Dickson Association has about 80 members, and are those individuals or are those businesses, or is it a little bit of both?
It's individuals representing businesses for the most part. Now, there are some just regular individual. You could be a homeowner, and be an associate member if you wanted to. But for the most part, they are individuals or multiple individuals representing a specific business within Dickson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's only been around really for a couple of years. I guess it was around before that, but it wasn't as organized, I guess, as it's been the last couple of years. And I think for anybody who's been coming to the downtown area, they probably have noticed that something has changed in the past couple of years, because it seems like there's more events that are happening. And last summer there were several big events. Can we talk about those real quick and just kind of highlight some of the big events from last year that the people listening may know that, I was there, but I didn't realize maybe it was the Downtown Dickson Association?
Yeah. So we kind of started the ball rolling in June with the street festival, which we had an estimated about 7,000 people that came to that. And then I guess it was September after that so Old Timers Day was moved from May to September, and they're going to keep it that way this year. It's September 24th, but the Old Timers Day committee had reached out to the DDA and asked if we would do something on North Main, since they typically just do something on South Main. So we threw something together for that, and kind of learned from that experience about how next year, or I guess this year, needed to go, which is, we've got some good momentum towards that. And then Boo Fest as well. I think we estimated about 3,000 people. And then, of course, the three first weekends, three first Saturdays in December for the Christmas stuff. So Christmas downtown, Christmas parade, and then the last weekend we had reindeer and a toy drive, which that toy drive, we had a minivan, one of the executive members' minivans. We filled that thing from the steering wheel all the way to the trunk with toys.
Wow.
I mean, she had to lay the seats down. You couldn't even open the side doors. We just pulled up to the Y and opened the doors, and everything just kind of fell out.
So doing a lot of good things for the community, not just the events, but also when we can, trying to give back and do different charitable things is always a good look.
And the parade this year was the biggest parade it's ever been in the history of the Christmas parade.
Wow.
Yeah. And we moved it tonight because we wanted to do Let Your Light Shine and have everybody be decorated and all the floats be decorated in Christmas lights.
It was fun, and I got a chance to go, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll take just a second here to mention that, while we're talking about the Christmas parade this week, part of the WDKN network, there was some big news that we got a TV station now.
Yep.
And you can download that on Roku. And I was actually checking that out a little bit earlier, and I've got that on my television. And when you click it, you can watch live TV. You can also watch some programming that's sort of saved there that you can kind of watch on demand, I guess, as we would call it. And the Christmas parade was right there, and I clicked on it and watched a little bit of it this morning. And so if you never got a chance to watch it, you can watch it on WDKN's TV station. And there's more information on how to download that onto your Roku if you check out WDKN's website. There's some information on that. But it was a great event. I loved it. It was great, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of the events that are upcoming. So we're here on Know Your County. You are listening to WDKN this morning. We've got Michael Shepard here with us, and we've been talking about a lot of the different events in downtown, some that he puts on himself through his company, Your Vibes Entertainment. But also, we're talking now about the Downtown Dickson Association and a lot of the different things that they've been doing. Michael's been telling us about how this group has really been revitalized the past couple of years, and really last summer came out and had a lot of really cool events. And I know there's a lot of planning going on right now for the events that are going to take place this year. And I was wondering if you could maybe fill us in on some of the events that are coming up.
Yeah. So we had our January planning meeting in January, obviously. And we have, I think, a total of 10 events planned for downtown this year. So it's pretty much one major event per quarter, and then smaller events in between that. So the first one's going to be St. Patty's Day. Dan and Sharon at House of Brews and House of Vines do their thing down there, and they always have. And so we spoke with them, and Dan and Sharon are obviously huge advocates of downtown, and they want anything that anybody wants to do in conjunction with what they have going on. They're welcoming that with open arms. So it's creativity to make it bigger instead of competition against each other is how this whole thing is working. And So we're going to do some vendors and some bands on North Main Street. So the DDA's specific section is North Main Street, and then Dan and Sharon are going to run South Main Street for St. Patty's Day. That's pretty much, we're shutting the street down the night before, and we're going to run all day with that thing. And then after that, I think in April or June, we're going to really, like I said, in between these major events each quarter, we're going to really utilize Holland Park we've partnered with an outdoor movie company, Moonlit Farms, and we're going to do movies in the park. So we're family movies, and then we're going to have some that are going to be kind of parents' night out type movies with food trucks and stuff. You can't obviously drink in the park, but maybe a little bit more PG-13 type movie for the parents to come out and have a night in the park. And then that'll be, and then in June we're going to have the street festival, obviously. It's going to be June 25th this year. That's a Saturday. Again, closing down the whole streets. We're going to have fireworks and everything as well, too. Bands all day, vendors up and down the street. It's going to be a good show. Then some movies, a couple movies after that, and maybe some concerts. We've even talked about doing a talent show, all in Holland Park. And then we're going to have, I guess, Old Timers Day after that. We're going to do the same thing, except I think we're going to move a lot of the vendors that are down on, what street is that? Walnut Street. I think what we're going to try to do somehow, because the parade goes through North Main and then takes a left right there in front of the railroad tracks. The problem was last year is that there was so much activity on South Main that our North Main activity wasn't getting any traffic. People were coming up there and people were supporting it, and they want us to do it again next year, but we've got to figure out a way to kind of condense all of that to where people have a pretty seamless way to walk back and forth without just this void between North and South Main. And then after that, we were going to have Boo Fest, and then kind of finish it off with our Christmas stuff, like we did last year, and have Christmas downtown, and then the big nightly parade, and then the final weekend. We may swap. I know White Bluffs. I haven't talked to White Bluffs to see if they're gonna. We don't want to have it on the same weekend as we did last year. That was kind of an oversight, and we were so overwhelmed and just getting everything scheduled, we didn't even check up. And we got some kickback on that, but as the universe may have it, it rained and they canceled, and we're able to pull theirs off the weekend after. And we actually had a lot of people that were going to be in that parade come over to ours, which I think was a huge success as well, too. So I think we're going to work a lot better together with them this year and make both of those work.
You're listening to Know Your County here on WDKN. I've got Michael Shepard in the studio with me talking about all the downtown events. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up the show this morning on WDKN.
Business internet is a must. Paying bills, sending emails, updating your website, running social media campaigns, even your phone and credit card machine need reliable internet. But your options are limited, and every provider has its drawbacks. That's why RFC Broadband for Business is here. A truly local business offering wireless high-speed internet options for your business. Affordable prices, no wires, no contracts, no data caps. RFC Broadband for Business, 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com. Simple billing, rural coverage, and again, no contracts or data caps. It's all designed with you in mind. See the difference a local company makes. RFC Broadband for Business, 615-375-8662 or rfcbroadband.com. Currently not available in all areas. Call for availability.
And we're back here on Know Your County on WDKN, and it's been great this morning having Michael Shepard come into the studio with us, and I've really enjoyed our conversation this morning. He's told us all about his company, Your Vibes Entertainment, that has all these different downtown events that you can go to, including trivia, bingo, and a lot of other fun things that are some new stuff going on as well. And we've also had a chance to talk about the Downtown Dickson Association. So just real quick, if you don't mind, as we close out here, what's the next thing that you've got going on, and maybe the next thing that the Downtown Dickson Association has going on to kind of let the people know, like, what's the next big events that they can be checking out in the next week or so?
If what I've got going on, I pretty much work for Morgan right now at the brewery. I gave her kind of first dibs at my time. So pretty much every single Thursday, 7 to 9 is trivia, and it's an interactive trivial experience. It's not just, your day-to-day questions. I've got some really brain busters and puzzles and word problems and things like that. Karaoke on the 12th. And then, of course, we'll have bingo at Pumphrey's after that as well, too. Downtown Dickson Association. If I will mention that we are taking on bands and vendors for both St. Patty's Day and the Street Festival. And if you go to www.downtowndixontn.com, that's the Downtown Dickson website and the DDA's website kind of combined. But if you go to the events tab, you can it'll bring up not all of them, but most of the events we're having this year. And then St. Patty's Day and the Street Festival both have links to vendor applications. So if you're interested in that, go there. And if you're interested in being a band, we're hand selecting those. So you can just email me, and I'm sure you may be able to put it in the show notes or somewhere online. But it's D Dickson, so 2 D's at the front, D Dickson A events, plural, @gmail.com. You can just email me, and any kind of audio or video you may have, we'll be selecting those in the next couple weeks for that. But other than that, y'all just support local. Anything you do, try to do it locally as best as you can, and support these businesses. And of course, I do private parties as well too. So if you want a private trivia or karaoke or bingo or whatever it may be, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my Facebook. All my contact information is there, and website as well too is yourvibesentertainment.com. So pretty easy to remember, and I appreciate you having me on, Justin. This is a cool show, and congratulations on taking it over. You couldn't have picked a better person for that, and I hope things continue to go well.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you so much for coming in today. So that's all of our time here for Know Your County. We'll be back next Saturday morning, so be sure to tune in. 7 o'clock, we have the Old Timers program, and then 8 to 8:30, we'll be back here next week with another episode of Know Your County here on WDKN.
Thank you for joining us for Know Your County on WDKN 1260 AM and 101.5 The 1 FM. Tune in each Saturday at 8 a.m. for more interviews and information on what's going on in Dickson County. If you're interested in being a guest on Know Your County, email us at news@wdkn.com. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to joining you again next week on Know Your County.
Dickson, Tennessee.